If it's a national show, go there to get into the first. I always tell my girls, I want to be top 3. No, don't put a number in your head. You want to be first call out. Because if you're in the first call out, okay, now you have the same opportunity as those first call out girls. So set your goals in priority, and then when you get to become a pro, then, okay, now I want to try to look at trying to get into that first call out there. So you baby step your way up there. Some of the pro angels, and usually I just use this as a barometer to see the difference in the physiques and the way the body structures are. All of us as trainers, we all have thumbprints. We all have thumbprints in what our physiques tend to look like. And it's not by accident that I started off in the industry with fitness girls, and I had a lot of the top fitness champions. And then I went down to figure, and I had a lot of the top figure athletes. And now I'm expanded into bikini because my look is the prototypical, I love beauty. I will protect it with every fiber in my being. But I love athleticism and conditioning. So as things have gotten down now, bikini is where our figure used to be probably about 8 to 10 years ago. And so it's just things, I don't move, things kind of come up to me. So as things moved up, I just stayed where I was and things kind of came up. So bikini came up to the look that I really like. So when you look at my athletes, they tend to all have an athletic frame to them. So whether it's Angelica or my button pusher, Jen, which Jen asked me if she could use the button push to cover her cardio for today. We said no. Or Casey, or Norman, or Justine Monroe. So if you look at the bodies, even though each person has their own specific structure, they're all similar styles. So what I try to do is I match my styles up, and I get all my styles to look similar, and then what separates them is their stage presentation, their hair, their makeup, their suits, things like that. Going through, we also have our pro bikini, which is just some of our other girls. Going into figure, of course, figure has now grown a little bit, so the physiques are a little different in how you analyze them. They're a little bit more about structure. So the width of the back to the taper of the waistline to the sweeps of the quads. So the difference between bikini and figure is just the structures and how much lean muscle tissue the bodies have. And so the figure girls now have that, they have a little more fullness to them, a little more width to them, and they do have a little more muscle than what they had like 4 or 5 years ago. And then your women's physique, you know, some of my women's physique, I tend to, you know, again, if you look at it, I tend to try to protect beauty. And that's just the way I am. And so I try to keep beauty in there. And a lot of our upper end girls are, you know, it's refreshing to see that a lot of those girls like Juliana, you know, they are pretty girls. And they keep that factor in there. And I love that. And then going through, we're going to skip our guys because, again, it's the guys. We don't care. Okay. Giving you a little bit of a breakdown, what we're going to do is we're going to go through these basics. So you have your definition of a calorie, your metabolic meter, what happens when your calories get too low, your meal frequency, balanced bodies, thyroid function. So going into the first one, what I do is this is a building block of what you want to do. How many of you guys are currently personal trainers? Very good. So I'm going to talk to you guys from 2 aspects. A, as a trainer, because as a trainer, we want to be able to set our system up to fit our client. B, from an individual who just wants to monitor their own nutrition and basically understand where and how to do things. Everything begins with a calorie. So, and I like to equate things. I apologize. I use analytics all the time. But what I do with analogies, I like to bring in analogies that help to drive the point home. So speaking of driving, if you think of a calorie as octane and gas, and the higher the octane, the better your car runs, your calories are the same thing. The higher, I mean, the cleaner your calories are, the faster that your core metabolic rate will move. And everything is about that core metabolic rate. the higher you keep the core metabolic rate, the more efficiently your body will utilize and burn its calories. So with calories are broken down actually into your three groupings. So you have your proteins, your carbs, your fats. Protein and carbs, the density of the protein and carbs are the same. They're both 4 calories per gram of food. So they're going to burn on a very consistent basis, and they're going to burn interchangeably because they're both 4 grams. Fat is 9 calories. Now, 2 good things about that. Number 1, fat will satiate you and hold you better. It is a more dense calorie. Where do you have to be careful? How much density you bring into your diet. So when you bring in carbs and you bring in protein, your body can utilize those and burn those a little quicker than it can fats. So with fats, you want to be very careful, and you want to use them in such a way that they satiate.